This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Hey, you're listening to 101 Part-Time Jobs with me, Giles Bidder. Thanks for coming along. Hope you're all good. On today's episode, we speak with one of the animals from Snapped Ankles. Snapped Ankles, if you don't know too much about them, they're dressed up as woods people, I guess you'd say, somewhere between a Neanderthal and a wood person. They certainly live in the woods. And they've played a lot of parties, warehouse squat parties, collaborating with artists, filmmakers, playing at barbershops, games arcades, forests. Yeah, they've taken their furrowed brow to many places that you wouldn't expect a band to play. And yeah, I got to say, it's pretty refreshing, isn't it? Their fourth album, Hard Times Furious Dancing, comes out this Friday. That's tomorrow. They've done a live album in there somewhere as well. This is their fourth full length. They're interesting, a bit challenging. Yeah, this is good stuff. So this is our chat with Austin from the band on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Thank you for being here. Make sure you leave a review. If you can subscribe, leave us 5 stars. That stuff would be amazing. Thank you. Right back after the jump.
101 Part-Time Jobs.
Could I just ask you, because you are in a padded cell with free Wi-Fi, which I feel like is very much fits your story, your mysterious, your mystique.
So yeah, we are in a padded cell. Here we are. It's not our tour van. It's just the future is these soft, safe environments with acoustically lined spaces.
Very important. Now, this is 101 Part-Time Jobs. A lot of people get their first side hustles at some point when they're overlords, aka parents, grown, kick them out. As Austin from Snapped Ankles, was it hard to get a job looking like that?
I mean, define a job.
Good point.
I mean, if you hang around in the woods for long enough, there's always things that need doing. And obviously, at some point, unless your parents are massive boomers and have built a couple of castles ready for you, we just have to fend for ourselves, really. And it's more sort of, it's not that work is more... Foraging now is more the phrase. I think we're post. There's so few linear careers around, and obviously we're not bound like the industrial revolution of the fact of going to work in someone's factory or office has been smashed by the pandemic. So it's very difficult to find. I mean, how we've managed to maintain maintaining, making music in this environment. I mean, that's down to passion and any spare moment when we're not foraging for the rent or foraging for the gas bill or foraging for a oat flat latte.
That's it.
When we're not foraging for those, it's difficult to say, like, side hustle, isn't it? Because it's there's always people with side hustles who, it becomes their passion project, and then their side hustle becomes their,
Yeah.
and photographers say who love taking photographs. Yeah, we're
There's that
just, I think,
transition
foraging.
time.
We've just been foraging. I mean, it's the last 12 months, there seems to be a big shift with more people around us having to, obviously, definitely a lot more redundancies of people who do have normal jobs, and with the cost of living going up, yeah, particularly where we are. I mean, with my income is out there. When I say foraging, it's another word, begins with F and ends with lancing. Um, so it's kind of, that world is. I think we are at a time of change of systems that, perhaps for in my world, my daytime, I'm a designer
Okay.
of furniture, which
Right.
figures because I like wood.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not a proper, some cabinet making to, I don't know, people's kitchens or whatever. I'm more sort of do like concepts and stuff for people. So it's not really, that's my kind of main forage.
Yeah.
And that's that's one of those jobs that you really feel the economy. It's you can tell when there's money in the economy and when there's not,
Yeah. Yeah.
because people have. I mean, I don't do people's houses and stuff. I do some, unspoken, do a lot of set builds and things like that, which
Okay.
obviously that feeds into our show, and our mystique. We build all our gear around our stage, and
Yeah.
instead of a mic stand, it's a log, and it's all worked, and
Yeah.
and then we sort of embed the electronics in it, and instead of those keyboard stands that everyone has, the cross frames, although we've got a couple of those for the tour, we'll have like a picnic table, and it's about
Yeah.
the furniture of the
Yeah.
band. And so we bring them I guess we kind of morph the two together.
Yeah.
Currently we're on tour, so we're fiercely working, and
It's the other kind of work.
yeah, and touring's interesting. I don't know if you've seen our Kickstarter, because even that is, these things are not adding up now, even for, I'd say we're not top of the pops, but we're kind of filling rooms, and you've got your Katie Nashes and your Lily Allens, and making quite a lot of noise about how sort of music production as an income's gone, music touring as a reliance is so developed in terms of the way that promoters and everyone feeds that. Yeah, it's all slim pickings basically, and so we've just got to work so hard to find ways to forage.
Sure.
So yeah, so side hustles is all related. Everything,
Yeah.
the project of making music, and the project of, I don't know, making a table.
Yeah.
They're sort of all working similar ways.
And GoFundTrees is your Kickstarter that I'll link in to the description of the show. And it makes me think that that's your way of digging into your personality and your vision to make a path, like a viable path within kind of like a broken system, which is what, like, music industry, right? It's like a broken system because everyone's working for free. It's not sustainable, all that stuff. But the thing that I find excited about is that actually when you get like challenges like that, and obviously it's easier for some than others, depending how cheap your rent is, and if you're able to survive, like eat and have one takeaway a week and all that stuff. But I feel like with those considerations in the picture, that when there are these challenges, it does kind of open up this opportunity to basically create counterculture and to put your head above the parapet and say, no, fuck that. We're going to do our thing. It almost gives a bit more freedom perhaps?
It's a tricky one, is it? Like, so say you go to France where there's a lot more funding for the arts, or there was until a
Yeah.
couple of years ago.
Then they burnt everything down.
Yeah, does it make anything better? Because obviously, the English indie music scene has always been a vibrant passion project of the British culture that occasionally bubbles into the mainstream, but is ongoing, like any grassroots, of all the grassroots music scenes. It's always sort of bubbling away, but with the venues all closing and the festivals all, I mean, there's less festivals, there's less venues, there's
Festivals cancelling.
cancelling, there's the sort of the corporations moving in, um, and the Live Nations, etc. So it's a particular sort of ecosystem that is potentially collapsing. I mean, like you say, as we say with the real ecosystems, they collapse slowly. There's some dramatic moments of collapse, and then and they reborn, and so it's an interesting time. Be interesting to see what music comes out of this time, because
Yeah.
a lot of times of like punk came out of the generation and the collapses in the economy of the late 60s and early 70s, and then it didn't stop people, just doesn't stop people making music, doesn't stop
No.
people
It never will.
performing and doing it, coming up with good stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just it just shifts it from maybe one bit of town to a really shitty bit or weird bit of the woods.
I think like fan audiences, listeners, and bands, I feel like that there's so much like crossover there between artist and audience now. I guess what do we want to know? We want to know, where are these exciting gigs happening that aren't to do with the massive corporations? Where are the affordable gigs happening? Where are the local venues that are interesting, that are cheap enough pint, cheap enough entry, it's got a nice smoking area? Where are those places? And I suppose that comes down to individuals. In every town and every village and every city, you're going to have individuals who will be like, oh, my mate's uncle works at a pub, or my mate's aunt runs that cafe, I'm going to put on a night there.
Definitely the ability. I mean, that's always been with DIY music or whatever. It's passion. It's some crazy fucker who's really good at their socials and just obsessed with, I don't know, a particular genre, and they shine a light and they find a little freaky corner that in a cafe that everyone else thought was just for the mums and the prams, and they'll be doing some donk night. I think it's really interesting. I mean, it's like, obviously bands love to moan, people love to moan, and everything's always not quite right. So it's kind of it's an interesting thing for like bands to go, ticket prices are too much, the things, it's all this. I mean, we accept the situation of, it's always hard. Bands, I think when Snapped Ankles came out of the woods and we finally joined Leaf Label, and it was like, okay, in order to sell your music, you need to go out on the road and do lots and lots of gigs. And we'd never done that. We'd always been in a little warehouse, done our mates' parties or art performances that we'd organise. Barely even went up to Camden. That's where people try to really make it, and that's where everyone's, Motorhead belts on, and they just want to kind of, it's all this sort of 60s dream. And I think we were kind of like, oh, right, okay, we're going on the road, are we? Okay, exciting. And they were like, well, how much, what's the, with obviously whatever we're worth, because it's all,
how many tickets are you worth?
Yeah, how many tickets you worth? Okay, great. And then we'll share the rest out. It's like, hold on, how do people do this? There's like it's thousands of pounds out to just get more than, on a train, or it's like, well, let's do it environmentally friendly and go by train. That's more expensive. That's a nightmare. So taking a group project out of your own place to think is, obviously you've got these costs, and you're expected over the last 50 years is expected, this is a promotional thing and you will make your money on the merchandise. Well, that's what's shifted now. with the obviously ticket prices gone up, venues are, and people don't have enough money and don't need shitloads of t-shirts and crap. It's not sustainable. So there's these various ways, and then obviously there's, not that artists traditionally ever really saw much income from the record, even if they were successful. It would all be siphoned off by record companies and managers.
Yeah, it's the percentages. Yeah,
and they, obviously there's a layer of artists who still get very successful somewhere doing stuff that not in the DIY log hitting.
No, I mean they're different universes, aren't they? They're different worlds. But actually, the thing that strikes me is that everyone's human. So it's funny how you can have these vastly different approaches to it. And I think maybe I'm simplifying it here, but I feel like one is making it happen, and the other one is waiting for someone else to help you.
Yeah, but it is we are hitting a sort of, obviously, this is very sort of the moment, but perhaps within the music industry, it seems to mirror, as always, great art mirrors life. So surely in the music business, with the business, you're going to have, like life, a small amount of oligarchs and billionaires.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not name names like Ed Sheeran or someone like that, due to Spotify, due to the systems that filter, the filter systems now. So what perhaps, this is the Kate Nash's moan, isn't it, or whatever, there was a block of people working in an industry, and now that's much smaller, and everything else has gone back to DIY. Luckily, we never stopped doing the DIY and coming from the world. So for us, it's just another way. We kind of wanted an album a bit about, I think we've sort of framed it a bit within a notion of protest. The protest isn't necessarily the, band take the insignia of protest and rail against everything. It's more because protest is now being banned, protest becomes sloganeering, and protest, I mean, lots of bands have used it, whether in their artwork or Next Street Preachers were all kind of in all that, and it was written all over them, scratched on their skin. It's no big shake, but I think there is a notion, we've looked at various concepts for our albums, for a better word, even though the album songs themselves are just a kind of however we're feeling. This one felt like, there's a sense of sort of injustice and a sense of need to get up and do something, but because of the noise, we don't know what. And reading into like ways that we found the phrase, the hard times require furious dancing by Alice Walker, which was about grief and a family coming together and actually doing a dance, almost like a line dance, and that communion of the group of people were able then to sort of look forward, like a wake almost, but the interpretation of that is more kind of a positive way to cope with all the moans we've just had about the music industry, all the moans about the changes that are happening and will continue to happen. We're in a sort of, the systems, economic, ecologic, and etc. are looking for a change, in flux, and depending where we are in the globe, it's going to hit harder.
And Hard Times, Furious Dancing, it's the fifth one. It's the fifth record.
That's right, yeah. Well, in our head, it's our fourth, but we kind of always forget there's a live album that we did. But that was less, it wasn't sort of like like birthing a child, like these, like the respect to all the mothers are not actually
big respect,
that painful making out, but it just, you lose a limb or two starting to do a group album. I think even as probably for solo artists, it's always, they've got that stare, right? Just done my album, and years and years, and then it's sort of out in the public, and you go, was that it? Right.
Sounds exhausting.
Listen, it's the processes of I mean, it's like like designing a table. Giles, like designing a table. You think, yes, you're there. You've got the basics right. Flat surface and 4 legs. It's that detail, isn't it? It's going. You got to go deep, and you might have to make about 50 tables before you get it, so it stops wobbling.
So you are a human slash woods dweller with a lot of patience, Austin.
You need a lot of patience, don't you? You've got to have patience and passion and patience. There's a fairly couple other P's to get put in there.
You got to piss.
I think there's 3 good Piss. No. You got a podcast. All the P's. Passion, patience, pissing, podcasting, and yeah, I can't think of the other P right now. It's a bit early.
Yeah.
Proliferation, yeah.
I mean, and that is something that I think, you know, you have been doing it enough years to kind of, you know, learn a lot. I think this music's something that there's no training really. I mean, you can go to BIM, but I don't think that gives you like, you know, this is an autonomous sort of way to live, right?
I mean, the training to do what we do is devour freaky music forever. Go out and play it, DJ. Play it at your parents' fucking mates, you know, dinner party or something where they're all like, oh no, put something Rod Stewart on. Fucking hell. Play some freaky shit. Get some Francis Bebe on or something like, oh, you know. So it's kind of like, just inflict. If you want to do this sort of stuff, you just have to be a bit inflicting with your music taste and filling, you know, I mean, our audience is always being, you know, those unfortunate passers-by for most of the time in the warehouse party or something. Oh no, not those guys again. But I think that's the way. A good start is to get DJ and play tunes and make your, you know, try and just don't stop listening, and when you find the good stuff, because there's always lots of amazing music, it's just very hard to find. You know, if you let the algorithms do it. Although actually they're getting better, aren't they now? You can just tell your smart speaker to, you know, just train it to weird shit that no one else likes, and you'll be onto a good path.
When you started playing in warehouse shows, or, you know, for the longest time you've been playing parties, and like you say, you're moving into this world of playing venues. You've got this tour coming up where you're playing some classic venues. Reading Face Bar, I remember going there a bit when I was a kid.
Yeah. We did that the other night. Yeah, we did that on Tuesday.
Yeah. So how's it been going? What's it like taking that party? And I'm looking at the dates now, actually. It's a full page of dates. There must be 30 shows on there, including ones in Europe. But what's it like taking that party environment? Because, you know, when you're at a party, obviously everyone's there to have fun, and you'd hope that's the same at a regular gig venue. But what's it like taking your spirit from warehouse parties and taking it to these sort of more traditional, right, venues?
Takes a bit of, got to think about, you can't assume, basically. And we sort of use this thing, a little smidgen of theatre, tiny bit of theatre, just enough without sets and too many props, just enough theatre to go, okay, you know, there was another band on here, but now you're in the Snap Tankle zone.
Yeah.
We use the stage lights. We talk to the person who's touching the lights switches and say, look, you know, can you help us get everyone in this room to just for a second imagine they're in a forest or something like that, and we start there, and that's that. Even little tiny interventions, you know, using, like I was saying earlier about the sort of stage furniture of a band or whatever, you know, there's all these, we've got picnic tables and then a simple green light, and say, look, you know, people have got great imaginations and they love it, and that way you can start the conversation, and those are things we learned from the warehouse DIY scene. You know, it would be performance art. We worked for a while with a great performance artist called Daniel Oliver. He was doing I think he got some arts funding and did a sort of tour of the UK's DIY venues, like those sort of art hub spaces, no stage, and plastic chairs around, minimal lighting rig. But his show was very much like a come to the you're in the woods. Imagine you're in the woods and there's been a murder here, and then he'd take people on a journey. There was no pro. He'd have a torch and an axe or something, and that was it. And it was that sort of experience. We were stood in the corner as the house band, sort of whenever it was a musical interlude or a kind of freaky scene, we'd fire up all in full ghillie suits, just standing there whilst this guy, he ends up, spoiler alert, sorry, Daniel, naked, covered in blood. And so it's half the audience. But anyway, that's what I mean. So to answer your question in a not too long-winded way, a small amount of theatre can go a long way. And then also kind of being on a deeper level, the mask allows a certain amount of honesty in a very traditional mask theatre way. You can, whether you're being more clownish or more outrageous or saying things. So the mask does allow an element of freedom, and the whole group. You can't come to a Snaps Ankles concert and see the bass player's bass face, or you don't see the facial recognition. You just, once you kind of see the shapes of figures making music live for you, then it's time to focus in on the ears, oral senses, and therefore we don't have to use too much smoke and mirrors to just keep the journey going. I hope. I mean, obviously I'm in the middle of the woods for the performances, and we're always looking for new ways. Even in a warehouses, we was looking at ways to subvert those themes. We kept playing in the sort of, from about 2015 to 2019, there was lots of in East London, where our scene was, all the DIY venues, everything was getting developed. So we were always playing the closing party. It was like, oh, we're doing another warehouse closing party. So we were like, oh, we need to, rather than do a gig, because some of the performance nights, it's like, if a band turns up, it's not as cool as if someone's doing some video art piece. So we were sort of having to think outside of the box of the traditional play for 45 minutes to your mates who've heard all your songs. We had to kind of keep inventing a new kind of concept-y show, and that's what we're taking out around. The one we did in the warehouses, we started dressing up as the estate agents, and we put all our synths on the estate agent signs, and we'd sell the venue to Chinese investors, which was great fun. On this tour, so we did the band on this album very much, we really want to get people dancing, but people don't really dance to guitar bands so much. And, we're all loving, there's a real techno revival at the moment of old techno, new people with techno, all sorts, just people messing up with stuff, but song guitar without the guitar in sight. So we were like, okay, well, we've been phasing the guitars out. We've got more acidy sequences, and like this, get these kind of crunky sounds going. And it was like, well, let's get our own. We can't hone this on a gig stage or on a tour or in bluesy rock club situations that are still the last men standing of the 1960s pub rock scene. So we then did a night a couple of years ago. We started running a night at MOT in Bermondsey, South Bermondsey, which is a proper donkey weekend bang face place. Part of the sort of golden triangle of Avalon Cafe and
good breakfast there.
Ormside. Yeah. So that's one of the spots for us, and a friend of ours was starting to put bands on. I said, well, we really want to play on a dance floor to people dancing, and so we set it up, and we got our drummer, Mr. Long, does a sort of modular techno thing with a friend of his, and we kind of augmented a night, and we set the band up in the middle, quadraphonic sound, filled it with a dense haze and some strobes, all the ingredients, and then just sucked away the kind of structure book of what a song should be and just went deep, and everyone's dancing around us. And that then was the sort of catalyst for what I think we had the songs in sort of bandy band song form, took them through that filter. I guess a bit inspired. Mr. Chestnut's a big fan of like the Weatherall scene, and that we kind of be our own producer sort of thing, and remixing the whole thing via jamming it out live, because it's a communal project. A band, unless it's my show or his show or their show, it's that sort of, it was almost like the group remixed it with the people in the room, and now that's what we're now, if we have to close our eyes and go, what are we doing tonight, that's what we're doing. So we're coming out, we're bringing a little bit of a South London Bermondsey smoke haze rave within the confines of a kind of lights and amp performed show. So it's not like just get down for a 2-hour DJ set, as much as we happily do that, but this is we probably try and subvert that as well, and then turn it back into a band performance or something like that.
Good stuff. That's exciting. And the new record sounds wicked. People have still got a chance to see you on tour.
Yes, Bristol tonight, at Lantern Hall. Then Birmingham, no chance, sold out solid. And then Nottingham. And then that's it for the UK until May. And so we've got a run of shows with a big show at Fabric London, which we're very excited about, with Saint Abdullah in support. So we're that's really worth checking out. So we're sort of all roads lead to, like say, like a dance floor, really. We're trying to bring dancing back to bands.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
It didn't go away. I was like, well, it did for us.
Jobs! One last question, and for the 101 part-time jobs, I think gone are the days where artists come out and it's like, this is the first album we ever wrote, these are the first songs we wrote, and we are 17 years old. I think it's far more exciting.
Oh, yeah?
Those people are exciting. I think it's perhaps more exciting when people are older than that and they've lived a life and they've gone down different paths and be like, oh, that's not the right one, come back and do a different one.
So I'm only 17 and a half.
I knew that. I'm talking about other people, Austin. There's so many jobs that people do, and I think with many jobs and with a sort of topsy-turvy life that artists are forced to live, I feel there are lots of short-lived jobs, there are lots of memorable firings, and there are lots of memorable work fuck-ups. And I wonder if you have some classic work gaffes that are up your sleeve. Perhaps, probably, maybe you've built a table that wasn't quite the right dimension, or before that, working in call centers, cafes.
They get quite litigious. Apart from major cost ones. Work gaffes. I mean, there was one where I had to do a freelance job, and kind of not really a gaff. It's more like a gash. I cycle everywhere. So I cycled to this job, and on the way I hit a pothole and went flying and ripped myself up. But I was in that sort of daze where I was like, I'm still going to go to the job. I go to this company, and I'm covered in blood, and I'm just there like, right, I'm going to do it. I can do it. I just thought I was kind of in a bit of a daze. And I set, and they kind of have this, one of those sort of design offices with like here's where we stick the freelancers, and everyone sort of moved away from me, and I just sort of sat at this table trying to do my kind of get my laptop out, and someone comes over like, you want to take a moment, mate? Since this pandemic and all this whole, world of, as a maker, obviously makers is hard because studio rents constantly going up, and there's a massive squeeze. It's just a tricky environment, isn't it? The winter's the tough time as well. I'm probably sort of in full moan because the winter's always hard. And the sun is now coming out and the shoots are out and we're on tour. So,
well, it's good to know if people, of course, you are under the cloak of Mystique, but if people wanted to commission you for an excellent piece of furniture, what's the best way to get in touch?
Just message Snapped Ankles. Yeah. That's probably a good way.
Is it on your offering for GoFundTrees?
Furniture isn't, no, but some logs are. We've got our logs that we've used in the performances that are all kind of got ways to attach to mic stands, and we attach bits of drums to them and stuff like that. My message to people who have, working in it's tough with passion project and work life. Everyone's always constantly trying to evaluate what they're why or what they're doing, and
you don't need that. I think it's so important to have like a 20% of being like experimentation.
I went to art school and design college, and at one stage I wanted to be a painter, but my parents were like, no, we're going to fuck off with that. And so I kind of found a mid-layer within design of applied arts, but then still realized I wanted to make the drawings and the visuals and all these sort of things. So I think you got to follow, keep training, basically, is what I think I would say to other people. Keep learning, keep getting the skills, and mash up your passions. In terms of, obviously for us, music never really music shouldn't make money. Everyone can make music. It shouldn't necessarily make money. It will if you persevered and managed to get lucky enough to find a crew or a team that can get behind you or whatever. We have the lovely people in Leeds at Leaf Label who invest in making nice quality memorabilia records, souvenirs of what we're doing. Merch. And we're on a roll with them, and it's really exciting, and we sort of cherish the moments and don't take it for granted. Within, like, if you want to do creative stuff, like we said, we had a few P's, didn't we? Passion and patience. Absolute. Yes. Yeah. Patience is very important. And then it's really, and you can apply the same process. That was the other P, process.
Yeah. Trust the process.
And that's what a process you need to learn. Process you need to learn from getting the right, whether it's night classes, if you're having a work or whatever, you learn the processes of creating, of coming up with ideas, that you can, if you've got the time, you can monetize somehow. And people are always excited. Wow, how did you do that? But you need the P's. You need the 3 P's now, not the pissing in the podcast. Charles, we saying that, yeah?
Yeah, we say
passion, process, and patience. Yeah, I think those are good ones for just to make things right
for everyone.
Yeah, for anything. Could be music, could be a table, could be a cup of coffee.
So there was Austin from Snapped Ankles here on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Their 4th album, Hard Times Furious Dancing, is out tomorrow. Go and pre-save that. Buy it on record if you can. Yeah, good stuff. Always good music here on 101. Thank you for joining us. 2 episodes every week. Make sure you subscribed. Next week, we are back with Scowl on Tuesday, and then I'm not quite sure who the next guest is, but they'll be good. They'll be good. So subscribe and see you back then. Cheers. Have a good weekend.
101 Part-Time Jobs is hosted by Giles Bidder and produced by me, Olivia Swash. This has been a Mighty Moon Media production.